let's talk about love. Like you and me all night, and let's talk about love. And feeling alright.
Happy Valentine's Day, y'all. Today we're going to be making love cake out of Rambutan, which I've cooked before. This is a Sri Lankan dessert, the origins of which are somewhat disputed, but the mythology surrounding it is that during the age of colonialization, that Sri Lankan women would cook this to attract Portuguese sailors. That sounds probably not true, but you know, it is what it is. And now this is a traditional Sri Lankan recipe that's made a lot of times around Christmas and other areas of the year. So we're gonna go ahead and make it today. This is a preview of it. You can see it is dense. It is almost like a cross between a blondie and a piece of banana bread, but it's got all of those South Asian spices like cardamom, nutmeg, cinnamon, and it's just real good. So we're gonna go ahead and hop on into the kitchen, follow along, and make this yourself. To get started, preheat your oven to 170 degrees Celsius, that's 340 degrees Fahrenheit. And then we've got a 9-inch pan that we're going to grease and put parchment in. And now we've got, this is castor sugar. If you don't have castor sugar available in your grocery stores, this is just regular sugar that you can then run through a spice grinder or a food processor for a few seconds, and it makes it super fine. Super fine sugar is also castor sugar. It's the same thing. So that's 500 grams of castor sugar, and now we've got 250 grams of unsalted butter. And we're just going to beat these together until we get a nice creamy butter sugar mixture. So the next thing we're going to do is we have 6 eggs that we've separated here. This has 1 whole egg plus 5 egg yolks, and this is the other 5 egg whites. I'm going to put this back in the refrigerator because we're going to use these egg whites and beat them to stiff peaks later, but that's a little further on down the line. For now, we're going to go ahead and take the 6 egg yolks plus 1 egg white and add that to our sugar and butter mixture. And once again, we're just going to beat this until we get a nice solid consistency to this batter. Next thing we're going to do is add our flavorings to our cake batter. So this is a teaspoon of nutmeg, a teaspoon of cardamom, a teaspoon of cinnamon, and 4 ground whole cloves. So lots of spices. This is 2 tablespoons of honey. And now we want to put in 2 tablespoons of rose water. Definitely don't overdo it on the rose water. It's a very powerful flavoring. Okay, and once again, we're just going to mix all this up until we get a nice uniform cake batter again. Next thing we're going to do is take these 300 grams of cashews, and we're going to take them over to the food processor, grind them all up into a powder, and then we're going to add them to this as well. All right, in with the ground up cashews. And once again, we're just going to incorporate this into the mixture. Now for the last of our dry ingredients is 250 grams of semolina. And now we're going to mix this up. We're also going to take these 5 egg whites and we're now going to go beat them to stiff peaks and then bring them back to the main mixing bowl. We've got our beaten egg whites here. And at this point, we want to switch to using a spatula instead of a whisk. The air that's been beaten into these eggs is what is going to give our cake its volume. You notice we didn't use any baking powder or baking soda. So get about maybe a fifth to a quarter of these egg whites and just sort of begin to slowly incorporate them into the dough. And once you get this first bit incorporated, then we can put the rest of it in there, and you want to just very gently fold these pieces together to try to maintain as much of that air in the mixture as possible. Just be very gentle. Do not rush it. Do not try to get these beaten in quickly. Just take your time to get all of this incorporated. Otherwise, your cake will deflate and it'll still taste good. It'll just be super dense and not as airy and light as you would like it to be. So I folded this until it's all just combined to maintain as much of that volume as possible. If you're unfamiliar with folding, you want to sort of lift up from the bottom and fold it over the top like that, because that'll trap some of that air in there, which is what we want. So now we're going to go ahead and fill our cake pan with this batter. And then we're going to go ahead and put it in the oven for about an hour. Like I said, at 340 Fahrenheit, aka 170 Celsius. All right, and we're all done filling the cake pan, so we're gonna go ahead and take this to the oven. So I just popped the love cake out of the oven. Still very hot, so we're gonna let this cool all the way back down to room temperature before we do anything else. So the cake is done, and it is a dense, sticky sweet, wonderful smelling cake. The last thing we're gonna do is just use our sugar mill here to put a thin layer of powdered sugar over the top. And now we're going to cut some squares. Let's see how this came out. Oh yeah. I can already tell, just the texture of it, I can already tell is going to be really good. Look at that. Look at that. Look how moist and dense that came through. It's almost like a cross between a blondie and banana bread. I mean, that's the best description I can give you. But this is really, really good and delicious. I highly recommend you check this out. Check out Rambutan. Check out Sri Lankan food in general. It is different from Indian food. It has a lot of its own unique characteristics. There is a lot of crossover too, but overall it's a cuisine that is just, man, it's really growing on my list of popularity here. So go ahead and check that out. And I've got one other Sri Lankan video up right now for roast pumpkin curry that's really good. But if you enjoy my videos in general, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you at the next one.